Okay, time for a new video. Welcome back to my channel, or hello if you're new. It is now time for a Q&A video here on my channel, the first one for quite some time. Thank you very much to everybody who left comments and questions on a recent short video I uploaded to my channel titled Q&A Announcement. I have seen those comments and questions and will now be going through them one by one and trying to answer them as best I can. As always, you're very welcome to let me know your thoughts on anything I discuss in today's video by leaving a comment down below, and as always there are links in the description to my other social media pages. Check them out if you so wish. Don't worry if you didn't get a question into me on time, because chances are I will be filming more Q&A videos at some point in the future. Let's get cracking then by taking a look at the questions that were left for me in the comments section of that video I uploaded a few days ago. I'll be going from bottom to top, and I apologise if I mispronounce anybody's name. We begin with Sarah Barrington Evans. When it comes to the UK and Eurovision, what can be done to make things better and give the UK better results? I've addressed this previously on my channel numerous times. Plenty of other British Eurovision related YouTubers have spoken about this in the past as well, and I'm sure will do so again if the UK's result in Basel this May is very disappointing. I really don't know. I think one of the things that the UK has been really lacking over the past 10 to 15 years or so is a competitive edge. And I think this is the case for a lot of countries as well. Ultimately, Eurovision is a competition. You are taking part to try and win the thing. I say it all the time. You are in it to win it. And more often than not, for so long now, the UK hasn't looked like winning at all. The performances just haven't been quite strong enough. Maybe the vocals haven't been strong enough as well. And if you take a look at things like Still in Love with You from a decade ago, you knew very, very quickly that was not in it to win it. It had, with all due respect to Electro Velvet, absolutely no chance. You take a look at countries like Sweden, they want to win and it shows. So it's no surprise really that they get good results more often than not. They want to win. That competitive nature is more often than not very, very visible to anybody. And I think the UK has really been lacking that. It doesn't really matter who writes the song. It doesn't really matter who's performing it, in all honesty, as long as they can sing live well every single time they perform the track, as long as they own every performance of that track that they ever give, as long as they promote the crap out of their track all over Europe as well, as long as they're doing the right things. I mean, that's all you can really ask of anybody when it comes to Eurovision. But I think that competitive nature needs to be there. I think it really does. I'm not saying that they should be really cocky and confident about their chances. You know, Daz Sampson was in 2006 and it completely backfired because he didn't finish anywhere really with Teenage Life in Athens. But I do think if you are wanting to be at Eurovision, the aim ultimately is to win it. So try and win it. You know, have a song that really is capable of doing the business. It doesn't matter what genre it is, necessarily. It doesn't have to be playing it safe. Switzerland's winning track last year wasn't really a safe entry. It was blending loads of different styles. The staging was very impressive. It wasn't something totally ordinary. So with the UK, I'd like to see us take more of a gamble. I really would. Not a Electro Velvet type gamble. But I think, you know, let's have an indie rock song or something like that. Why not? See what happens, you know. Take a little bit of a risk. Perform it well live. I don't care who's written it. Promote the hell out of it. And really, really blow people away with the way you perform it. That was one of the great things about Sam Ryder. He owned the performance. He was in complete control of everything that was happening on that stage in Turin from start to finish, and it showed. He was in it to win it. We need more of that. Somebody who can sing live, absolutely, and somebody who is absolutely smashing it out of the park from start to finish. Is it time to take Eurovision out of the BBC's hands and give it to another broadcaster? I don't think that would make much of a difference. Ultimately, even if it was ITV, Channel 4 or Channel 5, you're going to get the same sorts of songs coming along. Yes, maybe those broadcasters could organise things a bit differently, bring back a national final perhaps, but I don't really see the point. It may as well stay with the BBC for now. Yes, ITV did deal with Junior Eurovision once upon a time, but then they got bored of it, quite frankly, and the viewing figures weren't exactly brilliant way back when. I would keep it with the BBC. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you very much for those questions. Next up is It's Rye Bailey, who says, do you think the UK will ever win again soon? Yes, I just don't know when. None of us do. It could be 20 years from now. It could be next year. It could be this year. I doubt it, but you just never know. Yavuzal P. Korkmaz, apologies for any mispronunciations once again. After hearing Mons's song in full now, if you were to bet on a country winning Eurovision at this point, who would you bet on? I'd go with France. I would bet on Sweden. Without a shadow of a doubt. Easy. Easy. I wouldn't bet on anybody else. Obviously, we don't have the full lineup for this year yet. But even if we did have the full lineup for this year, I would still probably put some money on Sweden to win. It just seems like the likely choice. People are talking about Finland and Erika Wickman. People are talking about Albania. I'm thinking to myself, okay, yeah, they might do well. But who's going to do well with the public and the juries? I think once again we are going to have a situation at Eurovision where the juries ultimately decide who wins. If you don't have the juries on board, you aren't winning. It's as simple as that. You've got to have a song that's going to appeal to those so-called music professionals from all across the continent. And I'm looking at Sweden and I'm thinking they're going to pick Måns comfortably. And at Eurovision, he's going to get that jury support. 300 plus points right there before the public points even come in. This is something that really could happen in May. I think so. And he could have such a lead over the likes of Ik Kommer and Scherm and, I mean, are there any other major favourites this year? Espresso Macchiato, perhaps? He's going to have such a lead over those other tracks. The public votes will come in, but it doesn't really make much of a difference because the public will vote for Måns' song in pretty big numbers as well, I'm sure, which means he'll end up winning the whole thing by a country mile. That's entirely possible. So, to answer your question, I would bet on Sweden because I think they will get a lot of support from both halves of the voting. And I don't see that happening with some of the other contenders at this moment in time. The next question comes from A.E. Kelly. Hello, I knew you were a writer a while back when I decided to do a little digging, but never dug deep. But I just saw your post from 6 years ago, my God. I'd love an update on your favourite poets, maybe ones you discovered or just dug deeper with since your 2018 video. Some of mine are, and you list a whole bunch of poets here, Sharon Olds you mentioned. I have her poetry book right here, actually. I've got two of her poetry collections, Stag's Leap, which I did at university, and Odes. So there you go. Sharon Olds I'm familiar with. Yeah, and you mentioned a few other things as well. In terms of poets and what have you, I believe there's another question where somebody asks me about that, so I will go through a couple of poetry-related things in just a moment's time. The next question comes from Minhinstidans, and it says, hello Reese, what is your favourite entry from the 50s, the 60s and the 70s? I have absolutely no idea, so to try and answer this question as best I can, I have this book by John Kennedy O'Connor, the Eurovision Song Contest, which goes up to 2009. It really should be updated at some point. Let's take a look, shall we? The 1950s. Well, I'd love to talk about the older contests in a bit more detail on my channel moving forwards. But that will require me to really sit down and listen to these older songs in some detail and familiarise myself with them once again. So from the 1950s, well, it probably is. Yeah, it probably is Nel blu dipinto di blu, or Volare for Italy. Domenico Modugno, 1958, finished third, arguably should have won by a mile. Or Een Beetje, which won for the Netherlands in Cannes in 1959. Teddy Scholten, 21 points. It's probably one of those two. From the 1960s, no. The Allisons for the UK in 1961, finishing second with Are You Sure? That's a contender. Maybe not that. Denmark's win in 1963, Greta and Jørgen Ingman. That's potentially my favourite from the 60s, but it's not because I've just seen Italy 1964 and Luxembourg 1965. Norway 1966 is very good. Also Cleveland. Yes. Vivo Cantando, Spain, one of the 4 winners we had in Madrid in 1969. Salome, 18 points. That's very good. But I think it's a toss-up between Nonoletta for Gigliola Cinquetti, winning for Italy in Copenhagen in 1964 by an absolute mile, or Luxembourg 1965, Poupée de Cire, Poupée de Son by France Gall, winning just ahead of the UK in Naples. It's probably one of those two. As for the 70s, my word, I really don't know. 1970, nope, don't think so. 1971... don't think so. Here's a little fun fact for you. The UK were represented by Clodagh Rogers in 1971, and my mother has seen Clodagh Rogers perform live. There you go, little fun fact for you. 1972, don't think so. 1973, maybe. 1974 we had ABBA. 1975, yes. 1976, yes. 1977, Rock Bottom, Lindsay DePaul and Mike Moran for the UK, finishing second that year in London. That's pretty good. 1978, Israel's entry, which won at Banny B. That was pretty good. 1979, yeah. I don't really know, to be honest with you. It probably is Waterloo by ABBA, in all honesty. I'm not sure what else would be really up there. Save Your Kisses for Me, Brotherhood of Man, winning for the UK in the Netherlands in 1976, potentially. Yeah, I don't really know. Got to be honest with you. But there we go. Tried to answer your question as best I could there. Thank you very much for asking that question. Next up, we have Viperlike, who says, are you excited for the UK's entry this year? A little bit. Who knows when we're going to get it, because as I speak to you now, it's February the 23rd. We have absolutely no idea when that announcement is going to come. But surely it is going to be very, very soon. It has to be before the end of March, pretty much. It's probably going to be announced on the radio, out of the blue. I wouldn't be surprised. We'll wait and see. It will apparently be country pop, and that's a genre of music you tend to enjoy. Yeah, I don't mind country pop, and if it is country pop, so be it. Give every song a fair shot. Next up, Adam Tideman says, which country that has yet to release their song are you most looking forward to hearing? For me, it's France with Luan. Let me take a look here at the countries that we don't know much about just yet. Hearing. Okay, Australia. Austria. I think Austria could have something very special. I'm just focusing on the internal selections, really. Cyprus, not massively excited about that one. Czechia, the full thing, yes, that could be great. France, absolutely, very, very excited for that one. Can't remember the last time I was so excited about hearing a French track. Georgia, Israel, not really bothered, to be honest with you. Netherlands, yes, absolutely. What else have we got? Switzerland, the host nation. Hello. Absolutely, I'm very excited to see what Switzerland are bringing to the table. They're flying under the radar like you wouldn't believe. You know, they're just waiting in the wings, ready to pounce. They could have something very special once again. And then, of course, the UK. It is what it is. I would say it's between Czechia, France, and the Netherlands. Those are the artists' songs that I'm most excited for moving forwards. Thank you very much for that question. Whitod says, could you name a few Eurovision songs from the last 4 years that you come back to most often? Which of them were growers, you really started to like them only after a while? And which ones impressed you from the first listen and they haven't aged since for you? Greetings from Poland and Hungary. Thank you very much for that question. Let me do this. It's a very messy video, but bear with me. 2021. So, okay. What was the question again? That I come back to the most often. Well, Croatia, Albina, TikTok, that really grew on me after the competition. I've definitely gone back to the live performance of that several times. Denmark, to an extent, Vier Flamme, Overos på hinanden. Austria, Amen, Vincent Bueno. I've gone back to that one several times. These are growers as well, to an extent. Italy's Track Which Won, always liked it, loved the live performance. France, same deal. Switzerland, same deal. Ukraine, Shum, that grew on me a little bit after the competition. Portugal, that really grew on me as well, before and after Eurovision that year. Love is on my side. Bulgaria, that was a real grower, really enjoyed the live performance of Growing Up Is Getting Old. Really liked Cyprus, El Diablo. Didn't mind The Wrong Place by Hooverphonic for Belgium. Yeah, I would say my biggest grower that year, though, is probably the Croatian one. Moving on to 2022 in Turin. Let's take a look here. Denmark, Ready, the show, always liked it. Croatia, Guilty Pleasure, always liked it. Austria, Halo, the live performance was a little bit messy. Didn't change my opinion of it one bit, still really like it. What else have we got here? Cyprus with Ella, I sort of went off around the time of the contest. Ireland, That's Rich, always liked it. What about in the final? Czechia, We Are Domi with Lights Off. That just grew and grew and grew on me right throughout that particular Eurovision season. That's probably my biggest grower of 2022. I think it's in my personal top 10 of that year. Don't quote me on that. Romania, Chamame, that grew on me a little bit. Portugal, Saudade, Saudade, fantastic. That grew on me a little bit. Always liked France. Netherlands, always liked it. Greece, love it. Die Together, liked it from the first time I heard it. Sweden, my winner that year, Hold Me Closer. My opinion hasn't changed on that. The UK, Spaceman, fantastic. Incorpore Sano by Constractor for Serbia. That's definitely been a grower for me as well. I'd say it's between Serbia and Czechia, my biggest growers of 2022. 2023, Norway, always liked it. Malta grew on me a little bit. That was the Busker with Dance Our Own Party. Portugal, Ai Curacao, always liked it. Croatia grew on me a little bit. Mamashcha. Liked Israel, Unicorn from the first time I heard it pretty much. Netherlands, liked it then, like it now. Burning Daylight. Fantastic lyrics for me in that one. Finland, liked it from start to finish. Still like it now. Gone back to the live performance many times. Armenia grew on me. That was Future Lover. Estonia, liked it from start to finish. Still like it now. Iceland, liked it then, like it now. Slovenia grew on me a little bit, especially on the night of the final when I was in the Eurovision Village in Liverpool. I thought it was very good. Australia, liked it then, like it now. Spain, that grew on me. Wasn't expecting to really enjoy that one too much the first time I heard it, but actually it ended up being one of my favourites. Sweden, very good. Then and now, my opinion hasn't really changed. Italy, same deal. Belgium grew on me, as it did for many people, Because of You by Gustav. Germany, liked that at the time, like it now. United Kingdom, I've gone off ever so slightly. May Muller, I Wrote a Song, but it's still pretty good. Yeah, hopefully I'm answering this question well enough for you. I'm just mentioning loads of different songs here. I think my biggest grower of 2023 might well be Armenia, actually. Not by much, but I think Armenia is probably a bit of a grower for me that year. And then in terms of last year, Cyprus, liked it then, like it now. Watched the live performance several times. Ireland, massive grower for me. That's probably the biggest grower for me and many other people from last year. Croatia, my winner last year, liked it. First time I heard it, still like it now. Great live performance. Australia, that grew on me a little bit, I have to say. 1 Mil Cali, 1 Blood. Portugal, that grew on me. Grito, fantastic. Completely underrated in the public half of the results in the final. Malta, the live performance I thought was pretty solid. Czechia, that grew on me. Liked it anyway, but Pedestal, that was a very good live performance. San Marino, didn't love the live performance, have gone off the song a little bit. That was Megara with 1111. Same with Belgium, Before the Party's Over, I've got to be honest with you. Not liking that one quite as much as I once did. Even Norway with Ulveham, I have gone off a little bit. Who else have we got here? Ukraine, Teresa and Maria, liked that more and more every time I heard it. Very good live performance. Look Telk grew on me for Lithuania as well a little bit. Sort of went off Lanoya ever so slightly. Still very good though. Yeah, We Will Rave. Don't mind that song, didn't love the live performance. Yeah, I'd say my biggest grower of last year Yeah, I would say it was probably Ukraine or Ireland. But there we go. Hopefully, I've answered your question the way you wanted me to. Thank you very much for asking it. Next up, Paula Rosa, or Paula Rosa, apologies. Hello, Reese. Has been a great pleasure to read your poetry. I'm a visual artist living in Lisbon. Very nice. I love poetry, painting, sculpture, and music. Fantastic. We would probably be good friends. Have you ever read Fernando Pessoa? Yes, the Book of Disquiet, which you mention, is up on my shelf. You can't see it, but it's right up there on the top shelf. And I've also got a very thin book of his poetry as well. He used lots of pseudonyms and things like that. In what concerns to Eurovision, do you usually make research about some of the participants' previous work / career? Usually what I do, and I've done this for a few years now, is the artists I'm not familiar with, I will go onto Spotify, maybe check out bits and pieces of their previous music if they have any. I'll try and find their social media pages, see how active they are on Instagram and things like that, just to see, if they're really engaged with their fans, that sort of business. And I'll also take a look on a couple of other websites to see if it says anything about their genres of music, any music they've released over the past couple of years. And then I will make a little bit of a shortlist, and those names are the ones that will appear on the Instagram page that I co-run, link in the description as always, rajc.esc, on the artists to watch. So I do this with loads of different countries. I've done it for a few years now. I did it with Germany, did it with Sweden. As soon as the lineup was announced, I went through that lineup, watched a couple of videos, decided which ones I was getting a good feeling about, plus some names that I'm already familiar with and I'm just excited about in general. They go onto those Instagram posts. That's pretty much how I do my research. I also have information in front of me a lot of the time when I'm filming videos, just to make sure that I don't forget anything too important about a particular artist. This year has been especially disappointing, I can only agree. As a Portuguese, I'm hoping for the jury and the general public to vote for Henke or Josh. Well, at the time of this recording you're watching now, Josh performed in the first semi-final of FDC last night, and I've heard fairly good things. I need to check out the performance myself, but I am rooting for Henke. At this point, what do you expect from FDC and from France? Well, I'm expecting Josh to win FDC. Some surprising qualifiers last night, that's for sure, but I think Josh probably has it in the bag. I think Henke's going to be far too divisive, especially for some of the more conservative jury members in Portugal. As for France, I believe it's going to be a ballad, but not a really simplistic, very slow ballad, and I believe it's going to be a very personal track, and I believe Luan wrote the song a couple of years ago. I have read things about this and watched one or two interviews that she's given, so don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure that's probably what we're going to be getting. I can't wait for it. Still don't know the title of the song yet. Thank you very much for that question. Oliver S. says, can you remember the first time you watched Eurovision? 2003, the Riga competition. I was 10. I have very hazy memories of it. The same can be said for 2004, but I do have more clear memories of watching the 05 and 06 contests and so on. Do I have a favourite Eurovision year? I go back to 2003. It had a bit of everything: a country hosting for the first time, a great looking stage, a country that had never competed before in the form of Ukraine, a country getting 0 points in the form of the UK for the first time, and a very, very close voting procedure, and a variety of different songs as well. So 2003 has a very special place in my heart. Thank you for asking those questions. Lauravision says, if you could attend any national final, which one would you pick? I'd love to attend Sanremo, even though it's not strictly speaking a national final. However, that's never going to happen because I'm not rich and I would be far too impatient. I'd be thinking, for Christ's sake, get on with it. I'd like to get to bed at some point today. I'd like to attend the Melfest final because it's in a big venue and the atmosphere must be really fantastic. It must feel like Eurovision 2.0 almost. MGP in Norway, although the quality would have to be a damn sight better than it was this year. UMK in Finland, I think the atmosphere for that would be really fantastic. Songfjordkepnin in Iceland would be really fantastic as well. Make a few days out of it, explore Reykjavik and then attend Songfjordkepnin over the course of a weekend. That would be really, really lovely. Otherwise, I'm not too sure about any other national final. I think mainly those ones I've just mentioned. Of the countries we haven't heard from yet, which one do you have the highest hopes for? I say France and maybe the Netherlands. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the France track. I'm looking forward to the Dutch entry, and indeed the other one or two nations I mentioned earlier. Thank you very much for asking those questions. ESC Hayden, if I could make up to 3 changes to the contest, what would they be? I know one change I'd make, which is reintroduce jury voting for the semi-finals, because it makes sense to have it in the semi-finals. If you have it in the grand final, you need that consistency. Some countries are completely screwed by not having the juries in the semi-final stage, which I just think is a little bit unfair, and I think it's not very consistent. So I would introduce jury voting again at the semi-final stage. I would probably... what else would I change? I would probably change something about the interval acts, funnily enough. Or rather just the interval in general, because I don't think too many people care about it anymore, and it can really drag on sometimes. I don't know what you'd do that's different, but I would probably look at changing that ever so slightly. And I don't know. I would probably also make it very, very clear to every participating broadcaster, whichever spokesperson you've got, make sure they're actually pretty darn competent, because some of them waffle on, some of them try and crack a few jokes. We're not interested, just give us the damn 12 points. So, there you go. 3 changes I'd make. I'm sure there's others, I just can't think of them right now. Who are your favourite ESC creators besides yourself? I made a video all about this a long time ago. I could probably film an updated version of it. There's so many. Lauravision, The Piece Around, Shane at Shane's Eurovision Review. There's far too many to mention. Some of them make very, very informative videos indeed. Some of them, you never see their faces. They just make ranking videos, but the designs are really great, and I've been subscribed to their channels for a very, very long time. So, yeah, there's loads. I just can't remember the names of all of their channels, but there's a lot. Thank you very much for asking those questions. Next up is Laura Pinheiro. It would be nice if you share a little bit about yourself beyond Eurovision. Would be nice to know you, your poetry, and some book recommendations. Well, I don't really know specifically what you want to know about me. My name is Rhys. I'm 32. I turned 32 on the 6th of February. I live in Northamptonshire, England. I've lived in the same house my whole life. I do not have a partner. My parents are still married. Sort of semi-retired. I have an older brother who's a teacher. I have an older sister who also works in education. I sort of work in education. I'm still friends with the people I was friends with years ago. Don't see them all too often, but I'm still friends with the same people. I'm into sports, particularly football and snooker. I enjoy reading. I enjoy writing very much. I have 2 university degrees, both in creative writing. My favourite colour is green. My favourite band is Green Day. I also enjoy lots of other musicians. I've seen Taylor Swift live twice. I've seen Paramore live. I've seen Amy McDonald live. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else to say, to be honest with you. I'm just rambling big time. In terms of poetry, you can check out a lot of my work because most of it is online. Link in the description, hellopoetry.com. I've been using that website for a very, very long time. Pretty much all of my work is there. And if you scroll back far enough, you'll even come across pieces I submitted for university assignments and things like that. I've also got my personal Instagram page. Again, link in the description as always to that, where I post bits and pieces of my poetry and have done for quite some time. In terms of prose writing, some of that is on my blog. Again, link in the description as always to that. Although there's not really been any posted on there for a very long time, I do need to sort of get my blog organised properly again because it has been inactive for a very long time, truth be told. In terms of book recommendations, I don't really know if I can give you any. A lot of my books are here, off to one side. There's loads behind me. A lot of that is sort of non-fiction, travel, that sort of stuff. I mean, what do we have here? We have David Nichols, Starter for 10. This was actually my brother's copy. David Nichols is a leading British writer. He also did Us. He did One Day, which was made into a film, and a Netflix adaptation not so long ago. He's a great writer, very relatable stuff, very easy to go along with. This was his debut novel, I believe. It's about a guy called Brian Jackson. It's set in the 80s. He moves away from home to go to university. It's essentially a coming-of-age story, and he ends up becoming part of his university's University Challenge team. For those of you that don't know, University Challenge is a long-running quiz program where teams of 4 members representing a university face off against each other. It's on television at the moment, and it's a great book, and the film is really fantastic. James McAvoy, Dominic Cooper, Rebecca Hall, James Corden, Benedict Cumberbatch, all these people before they became really famous. It's a great film, great book. We also have The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon. I've had this book since I was very young. There's a stage adaptation of this which I haven't seen. This is about a 15-year-old guy called Christopher. He has a photographic memory, and one night his neighbour's dog is dead on the grass. It's been stabbed, and he tries to find out who did it. And the chapters alternate between the narrator putting together this book and essentially just talking about themselves. It's really good. Haven't read it for a long time, though. We also have this, The Cuckoo's Calling by Robert Galbraith. This is J.K. Rowling, who's a very controversial figure, I know, but this crime series under a pseudonym is fantastic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books so far. An 8th is coming out soon. It's also been adapted for television, which is very good. This is about the private investigator Cormoran Strike, who is a war veteran and only has one functioning leg, pretty much, and he investigates lots of different things. Very good. We also have The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo by Stieg Larsson, who passed away before this series became a phenomenon. There's also been Swedish language movies and a couple of English language movie translations type things as well. This is the first in a series of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 so far. 3 are by Stieg Larsson, 3 are by David Lagerkrantz, 1 is by Karin Smirnoff, another one's coming out fairly soon, I believe. This is about a gothic-looking security specialist called Lisbeth Salander, and she ends up working with a journalist called Mikael Blomqvist. This is all set in Sweden, and it's translated from the Swedish. And in this first book, this guy is trying to find out what happened to his niece, I believe it is, many, many years ago. She disappeared, nobody knows what happens, and he tries to find out, the journalist, along with Lisbeth Salander, and they investigate this mystery. My God, am I rambling big time now. His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman, that's great. John Green. A lot of the books I have, I suppose, can be classified as YA. I'm not a young adult anymore, but I still have these books. Looking for Alaska, which was adapted into a mini-series a couple of years ago, which was really fantastic. This is about a guy called Miles Holter. He moves away from home and ends up going to a sort of boarding school. And when he's there, he meets his roommate, a whole bunch of other people, and this really beautiful, mysterious young woman called Alaska Young. And he becomes quite smitten with her. And it's a story of 2 halves, and I can't really say much more than that. But my God, this book really, really has stayed with me. I have a very strong connection to this book. So it's something that has a special place in my heart. We've got Danny Wallace, Ragnar Jonasson, sort of Icelandic crime, very good. Many of these books are part of a series. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, Holly Jackson, very good stuff. The first series was adapted for television not so long ago. We also have Andre Aciman, who did Call Me By Your Name. Sally Rooney, very good. Normal People, great adaptation. However, Sally Rooney doesn't really use speech marks, which is a bit irritating. Eliza Clark, F. Scott Fitzgerald, who did The Great Gatsby. I've got a collection of his short stories right here. We've also got a whole bunch of other people behind me. Far too many people to mention, to be honest with you. But that's pretty much the situation with prose. In terms of poetry, my top 2 shelves are almost entirely poetry. But I do want to mention my favourite writer, And I do have to mention J.K. Rowling again, because if it wasn't for Harry Potter, I don't know if I would have become interested in writing at all. So, although she's a bit of a controversial figure, I have to thank her because she was the one who got me into writing in the first place. Anyway, my other favourite writer absolutely is Jack Kerouac, part of the Beat Generation. This is a copy of On the Road, which is a very, very famous novel. My brother got me this from Shakespeare and Company in Paris many years ago. There is a stamp just there, which you might be able to see. It's a bit difficult for me to really explain what this book is about. It's a sort of semi-autobiographical story about Jack Kerouac and his friends speeding from one side of America to the other several times. And there's sex and drugs and rock and roll, really, to be honest with you. Lots of jazz as well, I should say. It's really good stuff. And then in terms of actual poetry, I have pulled out a couple of poetry books to show you. Kim Adenizio, she's really good. American, very raw, honest, personal stuff. I have quite a few of her books. This is Tell Me. Simon Armitage, who's the current Poet Laureate. He is from the north of England. Very easy to go along with stuff. Quite colloquial and chatty almost at times. This is his selected poems called Paper Aeroplane. We also have E. Cummings. Fantastic. This is his collected poems, so it's a chunky one. Played around with punctuation and form many, many times. There is a great poem of his, I Like It When My Body Is With Your Body. Well worth looking up. Really, really nice. And I have definitely been influenced by Cummings' style in the past. We also have Federico Garcia Lorca, one of the greatest Spanish poets there's ever been. This is a collection of his selected work. Really, really nice. Could actually do with reading this again. Fantastic stuff. He died during the Spanish Civil War. Nobody's ever found his body, I believe. Then we have Louise Gluck, who passed away not so long ago. This is her poems 1962 to 2020. She won the Nobel Prize, and definitely need to read this in a bit more detail. A very acclaimed writer. Then we have Allen Ginsberg, Wait Till I'm Dead. Poems Uncollected. Allen Ginsberg, Jewish, gay, massive beard. That's pretty much all you need to know. Howl is his most famous piece. It goes on for many, many pages, and it's completely sort of almost spontaneous stuff, but it's a really great read. Fantastic stuff. Ted Hughes. When I was at university many, many years ago, for my undergraduate course, I focused on Ted Hughes and his wife, Sylvia Plath. This is his absolutely massive collected poems, an absolute master of the English language. Fantastic stuff. We also have Andrew Macmillan. This is one of his collections called Playtime. Andrew Macmillan supported me with my postgraduate degree because he was working at Manchester Metropolitan, which is where I believe he still works. And his poems are very, very good indeed. We have Frank O'Hara. This is his selected poems, American. Some of his work is really, really great. And then we have Sylvia Plath herself, who died in the early 60s, American, was married to Ted Hughes, took her own life. I've also got Frida Hughes up there, the daughter of Ted and Sylvia. Sylvia's been a massive influence on me. I've got so many books about her, big books about her on my shelves and down there as well. Fantastic. Very, very powerful. Again, very raw poems. Absolutely fantastic. My favourite poem by her is The Applicant. I recommend looking up that one. So there we go. Some recommendations for you, and my God, did I ramble or did I ramble there. Moving on to the Cheesecake. Out of all the songs so far, who's been the biggest grower for you, and what song has fallen in your rankings the most? Don't really know how to answer that because I haven't ranked the songs at all. Long gone are the days when I would have rankings at this time of the Eurovision season. I would say, if we just do this again, I would say blimey. I mean, Finland is my personal winner at this moment in time. I can tell you that much. Iceland might grow on me. Italy might grow on me. Latvia might grow on me. Poland might grow on me. I would say it's one of those, maybe. Secondly, is there a country or city you'd love to see host Eurovision in the near future? Plenty. Reykjavik, absolutely. Prague, absolutely. I think Barcelona would be amazing. I'd like to see Tallinn do it again. I'd like to see Edinburgh maybe do it at some point. Again, because they have hosted in the past. Dublin again at some point. Paris again at some point. Who knows? Maybe in 2026, you never know. Amsterdam again at some point because it's been a very long time. Berlin's never hosted it. That could be pretty cool. Yeah, there's loads of places. Loads of places. Thank you very much for those questions. Madeline Bowden, or Madeleine, my apologies. I'm intrigued to know what you love most about Eurovision and what made you such a big fan. Firstly, I'm going to subscribe to your channel. There you go. Subscriber number 12. What do I love most about Eurovision? I don't really know. And in terms of what made me become such a big fan, I don't really know as well. I think when you develop interests as a youngster, sometimes those interests really stick with you. And that's what happened with me with Eurovision. I sort of became interested in that when I was about 9 or 10 years old, so this would have been about 2002, 2003. I became interested in football around that time. I became interested in writing more at that time because Harry Potter was being big business. And so all of these things sort of happened at once. And I think when you are young and you start to develop interests and passions, you can really, really fixate on them. And I think I really did. And I've stuck with them ever since. I like the competition element of it, which is probably why I enjoy, I don't know, the Champions League and the Football World Cup and things like that. Liking the machinations of how things might play out down the line. When the Olympics are on, looking at the medals table, seeing who's finishing first, second and third and how close it was in terms of seconds between the top three. That sort of stuff. You know, pretty nerdy, niche stuff, in all honesty. But I think it's great to have niche interests. And my friends know that I'm very nerdy about Eurovision. They're completely fine with it. I love also discovering new music. In the space of several months at the start of a year, you are exposed to a huge volume of new music, loads of different styles, loads of different languages, musicians you're not familiar with, and it's great just taking a bit of time to learn all about them and enjoy the tunes for what they are. So there we go. Hopefully I answered that question in a way that you find sufficient. My word, are we near the end? I think so. I'm rambling absolutely terribly here. I do have 2 more questions, and they were posted on the community post that I put up on my channel a few days ago. JTB says, will the UK have a Eurovision victory within the next 5 years? I don't see that happening myself. I'd like it to happen. You never know. I just don't see it happening. Will Eurovision still exist in 10 years' time? I don't see any reason why not, unless major financial contributors to the contest decide to pull out for whatever reason. I think Eurovision will still be with us. And then Joseph Hudson says, will there ever be a year when Ukraine don't make the grand final? Yes, but none of us know when that's going to happen. It's as simple as that. So there we go. An awful, messy video from me, but hopefully you've somewhat enjoyed it. I'll be back with more Eurovision-related content very soon, and once again, many thanks to all of you for your questions. If I forgot to answer any of them, or I left somebody out, I can only apologise, but more Q&A videos will surface in the future. Until next time, take care of yourselves, stay safe, and bye for now.